Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited because today we are going to be talking about building success with a servant leader. And my guest today is Billy Ray Taylor. He's formerly the Director of Manufacturing at Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and he brings more than 30 years of experience in all phases of operations, management, and leadership to LinkedXL. He has a track record of improving production efficiency and building employee engagement at all levels of an organization. Billy Ray has been called upon by universities, international conferences, global publications, and the U.S. Army to demonstrate practical examples of how to drive and sustain effective results through embracing your culture and enabling employee ownership. He is the disciple of continuous improvement processes and a certified Six Sigma Black Belt business leader. Since joining Goodyear in 1989, Billy Ray has progressed through a series of leadership positions. He's served as plant director for both union and non-union facilities, leading lean transformations in Goodyear's largest and most complex tire producing sites. He is a servant leader, and he is a member of the executive advisory board for the Shingo Institute, Utah State University, John M. Huntsman School of Business. He earned his MBA from Baker University and a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering from Prairie View A&M University. So, Billy Ray Taylor, welcome.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here today. It's an honor. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
A warm welcome.
This is a really interesting time, and you have such a background with Goodyear Tire. And, you know, if you think about Goodyear in terms of, it's like one of those names that if you say Goodyear, immediately people know what you're talking about in the United States. You know, they know you're talking about tires. So I wanted to learn more about your LinkedXL business. So can you tell me a little bit more about what that is?
Absolutely. Well, after a long career with Goodyear, I made a decision that it was time for me to move on to the next chapter of my life. And through the encouragement of industry friends and leaders, this process around linking a business, right? Connecting the enterprises of your organization so that you can manage the intersections of your business. And so from that was born LinkedXL. Okay, LinkedXL stands for Linked Excellence. And what it means is it's a business operating system architect firm. And what we do is we go inside organizations as a team and help teams build operating systems tailored for their specific culture, leveraging their advantages to grow the organization. And what this process does, it fosters extreme ownership at every level of the organization. And it changes, it shapes and changes cultures because we believe culture controls strategy.
I really understand that because if you have the buy-in from the people who work for you and they really understand the whole process. I used to be in the newspaper business and I know that what I would call the front lines, you know, that's where the people really know what's going on in the day-to-day operations of any business because they're in it every single day. So can you tell me a little bit more about who are some of your clients and how you help them?
Absolutely. One of my clients, I'm here now, is PPG Industries, which one is the world's largest automotive paint companies. And what we're doing here is building their strategy and deploying their strategy so that it gets to the lowest level of an organization. And so PPG is a client. Also, Continental Structural Plastics. They make the Corvette body, Freightliner truck body, and Jeep parts. And I actually coach No Printing Australia, the people that make the money for Australia. And so instead of going to these organizations and saying, hey, here's how Toyota did it, here's a cookie cutter approach, you do it, what we do is sit down and assess the needs of that organization and build an operating system that's tailored to fit their unique strengths and leveraging their people at all levels of the organization.
So you actually work with the company that prints the currency for Australia?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, I do.
That's really interesting when you think about that's what an operation that must be, working with people who actually are printing the currency that millions of people use every day. So you were with Goodyear Tire for more than 30 years, and you've also worked globally with all of these different companies. So what would you say out of all of your years of experience, maybe give me 2 examples of some of the significant things that you can really see from that long career?
Well, the value of being very transparent. I believe the best organizations and the best leaders do these 3 things very, very well, right? The first thing is they define winning. Extreme clarity around what is winning, what is the purpose of that organization. The second is aligning to win, right? Do people know what they own in the strategy? Most companies and most leaders, they build these elaborate strategies, but they don't deploy those strategies. And often they stall out in the middle of the organization. Now, I say that to say this: you cannot manage a secret. So if your strategy stalls and never reaches the source of where it's to be executed, then your strategy is a secret. So how can you manage that strategy now? And so once you define winning, do you align and cascade winning, which is that strategy? And the last one is, how do you know when you're executing strategy? If you look behind me, this is called a center of excellence. And you can see if you're winning in 10 seconds or less. So if I look at this board, how am I doing month to date? I'm not winning. How am I doing year to date? I'm winning. What am I talking about? Finances. And these are value streams that which one of these are red, these are telling me which is why I'm not winning here. And so most companies do a bad job of deploying that strategy and deploying a common meaning to that strategy. So it's not a common language, it's a common meaning. And so as you start to tear your strategy down, the language of that strategy changes, but the meaning should be uncompromisable, right? And so when I say that, if I land on a plane, if I went to Brazil, they would say, hola. If I get off the plane in New York, they say, hello. Same meaning. Different language, but same meaning. So how do you tap the language of the people to cascade that strategy? And most companies that I've seen and lessons I've learned that you must do these things very well, define winning. So I'd ask the listener, ask yourself, have you clearly defined winning for your organization? 2, have you aligned winning? Do people know what they own in your strategy? Because in the absence of ownership comes blame. When people don't know what they own, they're going to blame you. Okay. And the last one is, how do you know if you're executing winning? Do you have a process or a system that not only shows you that you're winning, but embraces the people? Now, I tell you, I celebrate the process, not the people, because I don't want firefighters. I celebrate the process. I embrace the people, okay? Because I want the process to be the standard. And that's the last part of it. If you do that, define, align, and execute and embrace your people, you establish this core trust. People want to work for you. People want to be there for you. Because in the absence of ownership, again, comes blame. I don't want people blaming me, right? And here's the mindset shift. I want people to celebrate the red. I want to create a space of psychological safety where they celebrate the red and bring those issues to me, because guess what? I don't want people hiding the dead fish, because if you hide the dead fish, they'll stink. Put the dead fish on the table so we can do something about it. You know, in my career, I once was invited to speak to at a CEO's event, and there was a female CEO, and she taught me a valuable lesson. We show up at our annual operating meeting. She's dressed like a prince. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, what are you thinking? And she was proving a point to me and her team. And she had me wear this pink suit, a pink shirt, pink tie. And at the end of the meeting, she said, Billy, come up front and we're gonna dance to close my meeting. And I'm thinking, we're gonna dance, right? I'm thinking, you're the CEO. I've never seen anything like this. And then the music comes on. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and have a little fun here. I'm liking my chances. I'm a black guy. I'm up front. I've got rhythm. And just in case they want to do Kenny Chesney, I have my line dance ready. I'm ready to go, right? And so I'm thinking I'm prepared for everything, but I wasn't prepared for this. When the music came on, the music said, so watch me whip, so watch me nay-nay. I'm thinking, what are you thinking? You are the CEO. You are a 50-plus-year-old white woman. What are you doing? And what do you think I did 5 seconds later? So watch me whip. So watch me nay-nay. What do you think the entire audience does after I do it? So we had the whole team in this meeting, and the whole audience is rocking at this annual operating plan meeting. And then it hit me. What she did was create a safe environment for change to happen. A safe environment for people to engage. And most leaders, they shift from that to this command and control rather than to influence, so people can be their authentic self and bring their best selves to work. So that's one of the things I learned. And the second thing is never compromise on your standards. I have a daughter, and I tell her that all the time, never compromise on your standard, because the standard is the standard. And what you accept in life, you cannot change. What you accept in life becomes the standard. And so instead of complaining, hold true to the standard. And in my life, I can tell you I've had a very good career, but my career was based on standards, values, and I believe in that. And they were embedded in me from my mother. I was a very good athlete growing up, and I thought one day I would play in the NFL. And I remember my mom had a standard in our house that if we made anything less than a B grade, we could not play. Now, I tell you, as a young man, I knew I was going to play in the NFL. I even had the nickname, right? I lined up in the backfield. They pitched me the ball. Before I could even start running, the band played the fight song, right? They knew I was going to score. Touchdown Taylor. BT Express is what they called me. And I remember when grades came out, we were undefeated, and we were getting ready to play a football game for the city championship. And when I got my grades, I literally got nervous, and I knew I had all A's, I believe, and 1 F. When I gave the report card to my mom, she said, you know you're done. I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She says, the standard is the standard. I said, Mom, by school standards, I can fail 2 classes and still be eligible. She says, no, that's not by my standards, my values. I said, Mom, I'm going to play in the NFL one day. She says, do you know what NFL means in this house if you make less than a B? I said, no, ma'am. She says, not for long will you be playing. Okay? So, I'm preparing. I think I'm going to play this game. And the day of the game, I had to sit at home. My principal, athletic director, all came by to get me to play that game. We lost that game 54-0. It was the best decision she ever made in my life, because the standard was the standard. Most leaders compromise on what their standards are so that they can be liked, so that they can fit in. And some leaders go along to get along. But what's your standard? And, my best friend, and at his passing, all of my friends called me up to his coffee and we had a conversation. And they shared with me that we don't remember that game, but we do remember that standard. And it has guided us through our life too. So when I go into organizations, even as a minority, the standard is the standard. And I hold to the standard.
That makes a lot of sense. And most of us can thank our mothers for holding that line so that we can learn to have standards and to really develop something that makes a lot of sense. So the BT Express and the morning tea with Billy T, what is that? I was reading about you, and so what is that all about?
So several of my industry friends and my relatives, they came to me with the social media platforms that are out there now, and they thought, Billy, it would be healing, it would be engaging, it would be educational if you started some type of podcast or a LinkedIn channel. And for a couple of years, this was on the back burner for me. And then my children came to me and they said, Dad, our friends love to hear you talk. Business professionals love to hear your examples. And they want to reincarnate or bring back the BT Express, right, in a different way. And so this is a media platform where we bring in industry icons and leaders to share their best practices, their practical examples on how to grow your individuals personally and corporations. So with this platform, it's about a 3-minute to 5-minute video so that we don't take up people's time. It'll be posted on LinkedIn weekly, every Wednesday. And it's the morning tea where we talk about things around leadership, personal development. My children even want in on the BT Express. And I'll just give you an example of things that I learned growing up. One of the questions asked me by my mother, again, when I didn't want to take a job. And she asked me, she says, son, I said, Mom, I'm not taking that job. It's the worst thing I can do for my career. She said, I'm going to ask you a question. If a bird lands on a branch, does the bird trust the branch or does it trust its wings? I said, Mom, she said, well, listen, baby, I've got to go, in her southern voice. I have to go, but let me give you a couple of clues. I've seen many birds land on branches, but what I have never seen is a branch break and a bird fall and die. Trust your wings, baby. Now, what she was telling me was trust the process. You've had success. You understand your standards. You own it. Trust your wings. How many of us don't trust our wings? We know what we're supposed to do. We're talented enough, but we let people tell us what we should be doing, right? And along that same tune, in most cases for me, it wasn't a glass ceiling that held me back. In some cases, it was my sticky floor. See, it was stuff I was doing to myself that was holding me back. You know, I was in my own comfort zone and I wasn't showing up properly. Today, I show up. And I show up because I have a process. And so that's what the morning tea with Billy T would be. And I have some of the most prolific guests, world-renowned guests. And I'll also have what I say, practitioners, people that live that life every day, childhood friends and everyone, to give these inspirational talks.
I really like that because it's funny when you were talking about trusting your wings, and so many of us do. We stop ourselves because people are bombarding us with all of this negativity, or the world around us is trying to tell us that we're not whoever we really are. And so sometimes we stop ourselves because of that fears. Now, you're obviously known around the world as being this operational excellence guru, and you're a member of the advisory board for the Shingo Institute and the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. So how do we, or how do you suggest to people to drive this sustainable excellence and sustainable results. And it's interesting because as you were talking about the background that you're standing in, and I was looking at the red compared to the green, and you were saying that people should embrace the red, which was whatever wasn't going exactly right, to move through that. So I thought that was interesting. But as I'm looking at the overall picture behind you, most of that actually is green.
Yes.
If you actually look at it, it's almost, there are some little spots, but most of it actually is in the green. So how do you drive that sustainable results from a people-driven approach?
All right. And for me, it starts with ownership. And so the pictures I took down for this meeting to protect the innocent. But what we'll do is, who owns what at every intersection? Okay? And how do you drive excellence and sustain excellence? It's through extreme ownership. People want to know what they own, right? The basic human needs are to be emancipated as a person, to have a voice, to be valued, right? And also not to be programmed, but to be objective so we can get different viewpoints. And so when you have extreme ownership, this becomes mine, right? Ownership trumps accountability. Accountability is a subset of ownership. And so I'll go over here and pull out a picture, excuse me for leaving the screen. That lady would be at this intersection. So when I come to this intersection, I have an owner. When I have an owner, I have someone that's going to take action. And I want you to take action. Now, I normally do an exercise when I keynote speak to prove the point. And so one of the things I do, I go into my credit card and my wallet and get a credit card. And I say, here's my credit card. I want to give it away. And I say, it's platinum. I said, I love giving my credit card away. I said, but I only give it to people that take action. I said, but I love giving it away. And I go hit about 5 to 10 people in the hand with the card. And I keep saying, I love giving my credit card away to people that take action. Guess what? No one ever takes my credit card. Then I pull it back in my wallet. Then I pull out a $5 bill. And then I say, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. And guess what? They snatch it and almost protect it. And I said, that's interesting. Why did you take the $5 bill, but you would never take the credit card, which was unlimited? People don't take action when it seems unrealistic. See, that didn't seem safe that I would give my credit card away. I didn't create an environment where that was the norm. But it's the norm to buy you a cup of coffee. And great leaders create ownership, and it connects with action, and that's how you build sustainability. Everything I do, I have what's called an action register with it. I track our commitments. There's a board that says if we commit to something, an action, we tie that back to an owner. And in the absence of ownership, remember, comes blame. And so without an action register, a sustainability plan connected to an owner, then you don't have no containment process for which you eliminate a constraint, and that constraint stays eliminated, right? It never comes back. And so through extreme ownership is what I recommend. And also recommend a diversity and inclusion process. How do you get the best people around you with the best ideas? Right? How do we address, and I'm going to call it aggressively go after what would be negative biases? And sometimes it's not the bias itself, it's what the person knows, it's their comfort zone. Often people are afraid to address certain subjects because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. I've had some senior executives come up to me, and this was a much older gentleman at that time, and he says, Billy, I'm confused. So I call you Black, colored, or African American? I said, you got the first part right, call me Billy, right? The second part of it is, let me tell you, that colored word, it's a thing of the past with me. But I thank you for asking me. Here's what I will give you some advice on. And so that conversation went in a whole different way. And that person, I became that person's confidant when they were afraid to talk about different things. It wasn't that person had a bias that was really intentional. It was just how that person grew up and in the generation for which they grew up. But that didn't make it acceptable in today's time. And leaders, I have millennial mentors. So I have a young lady that goes to Purdue, 2 young men that go to Toledo. They mentor me. And we talk, and they want to know about business. I want to know about today's reality. What does it take to motivate the millennial worker, right? If I saw someone with earbuds in when I was coming up as a manager, they'd be in big trouble. Today, that's just the way we do it. That cell phone is the way they communicate, right? When I grew up and we were going on the trip, we had a map, okay? Someone was navigating over there. If I wanted to find out where something was, I needed this thing called a yellow pages, okay? And if I needed pictures developed, I had to go to the drugstore to drop my film off. Right? Today, that's all in the palm of my hands. Right? And it's not easy, it's simple. See, what's behind me isn't easy, but it's extremely simple. And it's what you just said, Billy, there's a lot of green. Guess what? I haven't even coached you yet, and you're already there. Right? Because it's simple.
Well, it's very visual, and it's like I was just, how you're standing there and I'm just looking at it going, wow, that's interesting. There's a lot of green on that board. So you have such a background, and just listening to you speak, obviously you've spent a lot of time developing your simple systems. Do you have a book that you've written, or is anything in the works? You've got the podcast coming out. What about a book?
Great question. I'm in the works right now with a very large global publishing company, and so we're mapping out the process now. They wrote me back here recently that they're ready to move to the next step in the process with the book. I was getting ready to self-publish a book. And at the advice of industry leaders that have written books, they came back and consulted me and says, no, Billy, I think your lean process and your management style to connect the people side of business with the process side of business is something that people would be very interested, engaged in reading. So, yes, there is a book in the works. And in 2021, that book should be released and on the shelf. And then I would probably be doing a promotional tour to market the book, because I think it's the inside of the book is very practical. One of the chapters in there is even a high schooler could run it. Okay, so with this system, while we were building it, we did a capstone program with St. Vincent St. Mary's High School with their seniors. We brought in 10 high school students, and we taught them this process for 2 weeks. And we took them through blimp operations. We took them through marketing, sales. And at the end of those 2 weeks, they actually ran our company. It was that simple. And so that's why one of the chapters we talk about, even a high schooler could run it. And it's the simplicity of it. It's not that it's easy. But yes, that book is coming out pretty soon. So in 2021.
Well, I look forward to that. And you brought up something very important, because that's one of the things that people need is they need this education about being entrepreneurial and running businesses and how to even be a good team member. And it needs to start before college, because if you learned this in high school or even junior high, about how to do all of this so that you can actually have a productive business and be on a team, that would really be valuable to a lot of people. So I really look forward to that. So do you speak locally or at high schools, colleges, universities?
Yes, all over the world, globally. And I've had the opportunity to speak annually, actually, at Ohio State, the School of Business, Duke University. Actually, came in and talked to their master's program, and to talk about this process and to talk about how do you connect the people side of it with the tool base and the process part of it. So I go all over. I also speak to high schools. More so talking to my kids, know your brand, know your unique value proposition. If you can figure that out early in your career, you'll be prosperous, I believe, living your purpose. And I also speak at international conferences like the AME Conference, Canadian Manufacturing Conference, Lean Island in Iceland, the Shingo Prize, which is considered the Nobel Prize of Operations, and the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. So I speak at their annual conferences all over. Mike Roth there that wrote the book Toyota Kata, I actually speak at his conferences as well. So yes, I've had I do extensive speaking, but I mix the practical side of it. I mix I call it the real side, and considering like how do I engage the people so that you can look at this process from your chair or your seat. Like my daughter recently, I was talking to her and we were in a room and we were studying, and she says, "Dad, when did you know?" And I said, "When did I know what?" She goes, "When you walk into a room, your presence walks in the room too." Well, I haven't got there yet. And I said, I knew when I discovered my purpose and what my true value proposition was. And so I can bring that in the room with me. If you're confused about that, you'll let others dictate to you what your brand is. And so that's important. And so when I speak, I bring experiences into the conversation or the keynote. It's like my son, going back to the standard, I used to always say, great leaders measure what matters. You have to track the things that matter most, and you have to do this. And I said, son, we're going to go to the gym. He played at St. Vincent St. Mary's where LeBron played. And every day at 5:30, we went to the gym to put up 300 shots before I went to work. And from the three-point line, the goal was for him to shoot 60%. So every day, and he would always say, yeah, Dad, I hear you saying everything, measure what matters. But the day before they get ready to go to the state championship game, I had to leave and go to a meeting. And my son shot 370 shots. He shot 80%. And he sent me the picture, and I thought, wow. But he had a sad look on his face, and I thought something was wrong. So I actually exited the meeting and called him. I'm like, hey, son, everything okay? He goes, yeah, Dad, what do you mean? I said, you have this grim look on your face. He goes, wow. He said, Dad, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I want to share this with you. You know what? I agree you have to measure what matters. But you know what, Dad? With me shooting at 80% and you not being here, it didn't mean much. It didn't mean much. What I learned from you, Dad, is although you measure what matters, but everything that matters cannot be measured.
Wow.
Everything that really matters cannot be measured. He said, Dad, you didn't come to the gym with me to shoot baskets. You came to the gym with me to help me develop into a man, a professional, a courteous person. That's what this is about, Dad. And I finally get it. And he says, Dad, I've got to share this with you. He says, I may not remember all the games you came to, but I'll never forget the 2 you missed because I wanted you there. You make me feel valued. That was a game changer for me. And after they won the state championship, all of his teammates ran over to the trophy and ran to cut down the nets. He ran over to the ropes where I was, and we cried for 3 minutes. We cried because, you know what, we were no longer going to be able to ride to practice anymore. Him listening to his favorite songs, I'm listening to my favorite songs. We were going to lose those moments that we cherish that had nothing to do with basketball. And leaders get so caught up in the results that they don't focus on what I would mean the impact of getting that. And what I'm saying is you can't get so caught up in the key performance indicator that you overlook the key performance action. See, KPAs deliver KPIs. See, if I want to lose weight, I can't stand on the scale every morning and say, what happened? Right? That's a KPI. But if I eat 2,500 calories a day, I watch my carb intake, I do exercise, I only have my 1 glass of adult beverage, and I stop there and I sleep 8 hours a night, I have a high probability of losing weight. And I build a sustainable culture that's driven by my key KPAs, key performance actions, rather than my KPIs. And so when I talk about keynotes, it's more real. It's more about what really happened. And I also talk about my failures, because it was my failures that drove my successes. And what I learned from those failures that actually elevated me as a person, as a parent, as a spouse, as a leader, right? Make people visible and they'll make you valuable.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I can understand why people would want to invite you as a keynote speaker, because most people talk about, like you said, the KPIs, but they don't talk about the action that has to be taken to get to that point. So with everything going on in the world today, are you doing any in-person speaking in the rest of 2020, or do you do a lot of online speaking? What's the rest of your schedule like this year?
I have the Shingo Prize event. I want to speak on kind of like driving excellence through people. That's going to be virtual. I'm also working with the Gimba Academy. This is in Texas, where I'm originally from. It's probably going to be an in-live studio real shoot. I'm probably going to fly in. My wife is saying, wait a minute, but that will probably be a live event. And then I actually just accepted the head of global diversity and inclusion for the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. And I'm going to do a keynote for their conference coming up, which will be virtual. And so it's a combination of both. I limit my in-person keynotes due to the epidemic that's going on now with COVID, to protect myself and to protect others. So I try to stay away from events where I have a surrounding of people. The one in Texas is going to be recorded live, kind of a studio like this here, for people to see, but primarily virtually for the rest of the year. And now we're already looking into 2021 of the events we're going to do. Hopefully, things start to improve around how we deal with COVID, and I can go back out virtually, because my personal audience works better for me because it's interactive. It even started with, being transparent. Someone saw me on a WebEx and they called me, and they were a former member of my team. And they said to me, Billy, we hate you sitting behind a desk doing a WebEx. I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, we like you standing up so we can see Billy. We can see your natural mannerisms and your natural style. And that's why I'm standing up now. And, it's people being transparent with me, putting the dead fish on the table. And so what I would say to you is, no, my events will be virtually, but I love engaging with people. So my keynotes are around engaging, because I know what my purpose in life is. I know what my purpose in life is. I'm not confused about that. And my purpose in life is not about making money, right? Those things, I would call them in some people's world, are their KPIs, right? But I think about, what was that event that I couldn't sleep at night? I couldn't wait till the morning came, right? It's like Christmas, and you got gifts under the tree, and you can barely sleep because you want to get to those gifts, right? For me, that's when I'm serving and developing others. That's when I'm engaging with others. When I was coaching little league teams, and I couldn't wait to get to that game to coach and to lead. That's my purpose. That's my purpose-driven life, and I can fulfill that purpose by going out speaking to people, going out engaging with people. And when people contact me on LinkedIn, I try to get back to 100% of those people that reach out to me. And there's some nights I'm up at 2 a.m. in the morning replying back to an email, because that one email can be a game changer for somebody. That one outreach can be, it's a turning point. I know I was with Industry Week magazine, and the editor wrote me back. Jill wrote me back and said, Billy, we posted your article on earning the right to lead, the change, cultural right and technical right. She says that article got shared more than any article that we had ever posted at that time. And we read the comments from the people that were sharing the article. Those were people that had worked with you at some point. And so what you were saying, you had actually lived. And I said, yeah, but I learned more from them than they learned from me. Right? And they're sharing their examples, because I believe as a leader, I don't work on my resume. I'm building my obituary while I'm living. What are they going to say about me when I'm gone? They're not going to say Billy broke these records and Billy sold this many tires and Billy did this. They're going to say, and Billy treated us fair. Billy was approachable, right? Sammy the janitor in Fayetteville, North Carolina would say, man, I text him and he texts me every holiday. Every holiday, we'll tell each other, we'll text each other, I miss you, I love you, right? And so those are things you make a difference in people's lives. And some people that have achieved monumental success, some of them were lucky. They weren't good. They were lucky. And I'm not saying every one of them was lucky. I think the old phrase says, some people were born on third base and they believe they hit a triple, right? They were born on third base. And what I say is, you know what? Some of those people that are sitting in the dugout are your next best leaders. And, we all have these things around us. We were born with a purpose. We all have something unique about us that if we find it and tap into it, eureka happens. But the challenge is to find that thing that drives you, that thing that you were built for. And when you do that, your life will take on a whole different meaning, right? You'll learn to love you. Because if you can't love you, then there's no way you can love anyone else. If you can't help you, there's no way you can help anyone else. See, you and your personal self is like banking. If you don't deposit anything in, then how do you expect to withdraw anything out? Right? It starts with that personal ownership. What do you own? Who are you? And that's where it starts. Because you know what? Money don't make you happy. It provides some comfort. But if I put you on a deserted island and give you $1 billion, what good is it? And so when you focus around your priorities, that's where change starts to happen. And for me, throughout my life and my career, stay true to those core values, those core standards. And that's making a difference in people's lives and my own life.
Well, it certainly does. Everything you've said is really resonating with me, and so I know that it will resonate with our listeners. Before I let you go, what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they'd like to get in contact?
Absolutely. We have a website, www.linkedxl.com. And you can become a member, or you can just email me from there. Also, LinkedIn, where people post and reach out to me via more personal emails. You can contact me there as well. And so those are the best ways to catch me. My contact information is on the website. Those that want to talk to me or want to reach out to me. And coming soon is BT Express, the morning tea with Billy T.
Okay, BT Express, the morning tea with Billy T. And of course, the website is LinkedXL.com. Well, I've really enjoyed listening to you, and I learned a lot about excellence from you today. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'll invite you back another time where we can expand on everything. So everyone, make sure that you go check out Billy Ray Taylor and LinkedXL.com. So Billy, before I let you go, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's more of a question with moral standards behind it. The question I would ask you, right, and your personal growth is, and it's not directly for you, it's for the audience, is what would you do if you were not afraid? When you're faced with that opposition, that challenge, remember, what you tolerate, you can't change. So the question I would ask you to ask yourself tomorrow morning, when you look in that mirror, what would you do if you were not afraid?
What would I do if I were not afraid? That is a really good question that all of us should ask ourselves. So we'll leave it with that. Again, thank you so much, Billy Ray Taylor. And everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.